Welcome back to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We're brought to you by Pelican, built tough for all situations. Go to pelican.com. Yak Gadget, for all your fine kayak fishing accessory needs. Go to yakgadget.com. Eastport Marina, on the beautiful shores of Dale Hollow Lake. For all your lodging, kayaking, and fishing needs, go to eastport.info. Now let's get this show started.
Hey guys, it's Takeover Tuesday. Let's do this.
Welcome to a special edition of the Rusty Hook Podcast, streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. 1 hour of straight talk regarding tournament news, angler profiles, gear reviews, and more. Now let's get our show started by joining with John Rapp, our host.
All right, I'm back. Hey, I'm running my podcast tonight from the house, so there may be a little bit of lag, although my Starlink has been upgraded to regular status, so hopefully all of my stream will stay on track. There was a little buffer, but it seems to be doing okay at the moment. Tonight's episode is a recap, an after-action review from what just transpired over the weekend. If you got to watch anything, I went out today for about 4 hours and fished, did about 30 minutes of live video over on the Rusty Hook podcast platform. You can go over and check out that video. It's a little laggy because here in the middle of West Virginia, we don't have the greatest cell service. It's a very rural area. But you'll see what I did. I caught up with the three guys that just recently fished the WVKA tournament a couple of days ago. The top three finishers: Buddy Vance, the winner, of course, Mr. Cold Weather Wintertime Fisherman. Then Brian Bostic from Alderson and Mikey Holcombe up toward Fairmont area. He finished third. And I caught up with those guys over the past day or two, interviewed them, and I've got it recorded for you to watch. So maybe a little difference. You'll see some splices and cuts and stuff in there, but it'll look okay, I hope. But anyway, I want to go ahead and bring on the first interview for you guys, and that would be with Mikey, and let you listen to what he thought and what we discussed at for his performance at Summersville. Hey guys, welcome back. We got our third place finisher from the West Virginia Kayak Anglers, Mikey Holcombe, on board, and we're going to get him to talk about why he is one of the best smallmouth fishermen in West Virginia. Over the past couple of years, you've seen his videos, him and Evan with Think Duo. So smallmouth equals cold water. Let's talk about cold water. Let's find out why Mikey is so successful, and let's get him on the show. So, Mikey, welcome to the Rusty Hook, baby. Glad to have you. Want to hear from you. Get some details on why you were so successful on Summersville in muddy, stained water for our lake, rising rapidly, where they closed off for the Gauley. And give us some details on what you did that made Sunday so good for you.
So I'll start off by addressing your previous comment. I don't know if I'm one of the better smallmouth guys. There's definitely some Chris Schaefers and there's some legit dudes out there. But I appreciate the compliment. I love my smallmouth. Everybody knows that, and I've really grown to love Summersville the last few years. We fished it. We have fished it in snowstorms. We have fished it in T-shirts in May. We fished it April 2nd. We've watched it come up to summer pool in the same day. It come up 9.5 feet last year.
Yep.
And I finished 6th with a finesse jig last year with 80 boats on the water. I mean, Summersville is one of those things. It's going to be tough, and you better buckle in. And a couple guys are going to catch them, or a couple people's going to catch them, and you just have to get mentally prepared for a tough day, especially when, like you said, they shut the gates. The water came up 25 feet in 36 hours. It rose 7 feet while we were on it.
Yep.
I had a point on a little bluff, like a little, almost the tip of a bluff that was underwater by the end of the day, and I was casting 4 feet below it in the morning. So we went, Evan and I, and that's another thing, that comment. Everybody talks about me or knows me for smallmouth, but don't sleep on Evan Adamson for smallmouth, man. He fishes with me everywhere we go, and it's like osmosis. Anything I'm learning, that guy's learning it. So I think you're going to see him emerge this year as another smallmouth guy. But basically, we went there Sunday, and it was like you couldn't do anything wrong. I mean, the water was right. It was stable. It was warming up, and every cast you were catching, you couldn't catch a fish under 13 inches. And we smacked him. Evan had like an 18-inch smallmouth. It was fat. So Sunday, we kind of knew what we were getting into. I figured it would be dirty. Evan made a run up the river, and that ended up in.
So those fish you're talking about, those were the ones you caught on Friday or during the week during practice? Those
Sunday.
Yeah. Okay. So that was during the tournament.
No, that was a week ago Sunday.
Oh, okay. That's what I would double check, because you were catching them pre-flooding. So yeah.
Yeah. And they were pretty much set up the same way yesterday, they were set up the same way tournament day, except a week ago they weren't moving in and out, because that's something I'll get to, and I think Buddy might have touched on that. And I'm basically going to piggyback off of Buddy, however you order this. We found the same thing. We talked about it at awards. I found fish in a couple areas on Main Lake. There was a little pocket of decent kind of greenish brown water that was locked about halfway down Salmon Run to Battle Run. And it was around the point, and it was locked from each direction, from your creeks coming in and the river pushing debris and dirty water. And the far bank was 2 degrees colder and dirty and just trash mats. And I cranked a mile section with a crankbait and could not get bit. And I was like, something's wrong. And then I noticed it was like 46 and a half. And I had 49 and a half, 50 degrees on a point. And I was like, well, I'm going to run back to the point. So I ran back to the point, caught a 16, went around the point, hit a little spot, caught like an 11.75, caught 2 walleye. They were schooled. I found a school of walleye on LiveScope, thought I hit the jackpot until I caught 2 of them, and then I was like, I'm done.
Daggone it.
I cycled back to that same spot, same cast that I caught my 16, and I caught a 14.75. So I caught a 14.75, moved on, let them reset. Same thing, went around the other side of the point, caught a 13.75, came back 30 minutes later, looked around, nobody's on that spot. People are Ned rigging slow on, rock piles and rock veins, and I cast up there, same thing. Catch a 15 on the same spot. And I'm like, and I noticed, so I couldn't use LiveScope to catch them, but I could see how they were setting up. And the fish were in 10 to 13 feet of water, and they were all suspended around that 8 or 9 foot mark above the boulders. And I think what me and Buddy were talking about is I think those fish were pushing up as the water would come up, or as it was coming up, they'd cycle up. And then if you look on a Google Earth image of where I was when they have it drawn down to maintenance level, it drops and it flattens out in 35 feet. And I think that they were pushing up off the flat and they were moving up. And then I think it was just an hourly thing or hour and a half. I don't know, but they were cycling into deeper water. They pull up for 20 or 30 minutes and you'd have to time it right. And then they push off.
So what was your technique you were using? Were you throwing crankbaits as well, or was you throwing Ned rigs?
Junk fishing. I mean, finesse jig, crankbait. I was throwing a jerkbait for a little bit. I think more than anything was the targeting that specific depth. that 8 to 12. I mean, we're writing that recap piece, and I mean, you talk to 4 out of the top 5, and they're going to tell you the same thing.
So let's talk about that. Let's let everybody know what you're doing now and who you're with, and what you and Evan are doing with that group.
Yeah. So I was approached by Chase Sansom. Anybody that knows fishing in West Virginia knows Chase. Good dude. He reached out to us, and he wanted me to write some recap pieces for our kayak fishing tournaments in West Virginia for all 3 clubs. He said, if you know anybody else that would be willing, let me know. And I was like, Evan likes to write. So of course I'm going to get him on, on that. So now he and I we're going to be doing recaps for every event to bring, to spotlight our anglers we have in West Virginia, our great sponsors. And we're going to be doing that every tournament. So be prepared for, you finish in the top, basically you place, and we're going to be reaching out to you, get a little recap on what you did, what the conditions were. And, between he and I, we should both be at each tournament this year. So we're making a run at all 3 clubs. We're going to see what we can do.
Nice.
So we'll be there, and
awesome.
we're going to try and pump those out by, probably Tuesday of each week following the tournaments. So definitely be looking for that. Give them a share. They help us a lot, highlighting kayak fishing. So we should do the same on their page on Dock Talk. So
definitely. Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was tough. It was a tough bite. Don't get me wrong. There was definitely a point where I had 3 fish, I think, and I had lost 2 fish right at the boat. And you just have to stay positive. You can't let that get to you. But there was definitely that turning point where it could have went bad, where I started getting negative. I lost 2 good fish, like 14 or 15s, which are big fish for Summersville this time of year. Those are killer. And I had 3 fish, and it might have been like 11. And in your mind, you're like, man, am I going to get 2 more bites the rest of the day? I mean, nothing's guaranteed. And Evan called. I think I caught an 11 set. I caught like a smaller fish, like it was an 8-inch minimum. And Evan called, and he's like, how you doing, man? I was like, I got 4. And while I was on the phone with him, I caught my 5th. And he was like, heck yeah. And I went on to cold 2 or 3 times throughout the day. And that was the turning point, though, for sure. I mean, you just got to stay positive, because it was starting to look grim there for a little bit. I was starting to get down on myself, especially after the way we caught him Sunday, the week prior.
Right,
right. I was pretty disappointed. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, because, if you follow bass predictions and stuff, yesterday's peak moon time for fishing, the green light, the major feed time, was from 10 to noon. So I figure a lot of damage might have been done during that time. Most of the activity was by moon phase. That's what they were predicting then. So that sounds like you busted 1 or 2 there to get you your 5 fish in. So.
And it was cold. I mean, you were out there. It was.
Oh yeah.
It was really cold. Like, it was 35, but you had a good north wind, and it was tough, man. It was definitely one of those tournaments you want to be dressed comfortable, because that's going to play mentally.
Well, I mean, it was only 45 degrees when we got off the water. I got off the water at 2:00 because I went down to Jody at Gauley Bridge on the river, and it
was tough, man. It was really tough.
Yeah.
I will say, though, I will point out that I feel like there were some good fish. Like, if you look and you scroll through Tourney X and look at like each person's largest, I feel like there were some really good numbers put out compared to years past, given the conditions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The high scores, I mean, you guys beat last year's winner.
Yeah.
I think the top 4. So
when you look, though, I mean, there was a fair amount of, 16s and 17s caught, and that's not a typical Summersville thing. I mean.
Oh, and even touching on that with Bostic's largemouth.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's like finding a needle in a haystack on Summersville. I mean, so
yeah, I showed that to a boat fisherman friend of mine that has fished Summersville religiously his entire life, and he said that's one of the biggest largemouth he's seen come out of Summersville in a long time.
I tell you, I give the DNR and the Corps of Engineers a lot of credit for the last 5-6 years where they've been creating all the structure around the lake, which specifically the largemouth we're going to use. You know, our smallmouth will stay in the rocks. They love rocks, but that's really helping the largemouth population. So
I just think Summersville is always going to be one of our early season tournaments, and you just have to learn that place because you know you're going to be there. You know it's probably going to be tough. It's going to be weird It's never perfect conditions on Summersville. It's just not.
It's not.
And that's what I'm trying to overcome is, once we hit the rivers, I'll be coasting. I'll do all right. But it's those April tournaments, man. They'll make or break your season as far as AOY goes and getting a good momentum push.
Yeah, if you can finish good on the first two, you got one throwaway. So
yeah, exactly. And April in West Virginia is very tough. So I feel very blessed that I did well, and I hope I'm able to. I hope I'm able to carry that momentum over into Sutton Lake on the 15th with Southern West Virginia. So
tell me something. Talk to me about how did you get to learning about cold water fishing? When did you start learning your techniques there?
So probably as far as really getting into it, you don't want to overthink things too much, but there's definitely a scientific side to it. And even when I got home last night, me and Evan sat down on maps and we looked at why my fish and Buddy's fish, and at least mine and Buddy's fish, why they were where they were. And they were south-facing points. It's springtime. They had flats immediately available to them to push off on a flat in 20 feet of water, push up. I think that plays a big part in it, is looking at the scientific side of it. I'm blessed to be able to. I have good working relationships with some of our DNR biologists in West Virginia, like Brandon Keplinger. He does a lot for the state out in his district, out towards the South Branch. I pick his brain. Like crazy about like the scientific habits of smallmouth. And if you can translate river winter fishing to Summersville, you're going to be fine.
Definitely. So,
and
for a fun day of fishing, where would you go?
Right now?
Anytime. If you were going to go just out for a fun day of fishing, where would Mikey go?
In West Virginia, I'd go to the New or the South Branch. In Pennsylvania, I'm going to Susquehanna.
Okay, I got you.
If it's June and you tell me I've got a 4-day weekend, I'm going to go sleep in my truck at the ramp for 3 days at the Susquehanna, and I'm going to catch. And Evan and I both, or whoever goes, we're going to catch 90 or 95 inches of smallmouth. That place that's another place that you'll learn a lot about smallmouth is the Susquehanna.
I hear you.
But yeah.
Your favorite kayak angler, the one you look up to the most?
Oh, man, that's tough. So, honestly, he's a casting teammate of mine, but I got two. I got one, probably Jordan Marshall, old mullet man in Tennessee. Dude's a stick anywhere he goes. Smallmouth, largemouth spots, it don't matter. Rivers, lakes. He's consistent. He's a blue-collar guy that makes the most of all the vacation he has. He's not a professional traveling angler, and he fishes 40 tournaments a year.
He's already made $10,000 this year.
That's right. So, as far as a guy I look up to, and I could see myself modeling the way I fish after, it'd have to be him. Russ Snyder's is a force to be reckoned with, and how anybody could sleep on him in the whole country would be beyond me. He's, as far as consistency anywhere goes, Russ Snyder's he's tough to beat anywhere.
Yep.
Whenever you pick a weekend, you can pretty well fish whenever you want.
But hey, thanks the wife for helping us with our technical difficulties. And be blessed. And I hope that your Amazon Prime bill isn't too high by the time you get your phone back.
You just have packages arriving. All right. Thank you, John. I appreciate you having me on, buddy.
Thank you, buddy. You have a great day.
All right.
So that was our boy Mikey Holcombe from up in the northern part of the state. Had a very successful weekend down here. So stand by, and we will be right back. All right, that was a really good live interview that I took earlier today, a pre-recorded interview, not live. So let's go to a quick break, and we'll be right back. Feel free kayaks. Paddle, pedal, or power. There's something for everyone. Do Bro Fishing. Manufactured and designed marine products, American-made plastics, and fishing gear. Westbrook Supply Company, Atlanta's best kayak company for all your paddling and fishing needs. Yak Gadget, American-made kayak fishing accessories and gear. Ace Adventure Resort, West Virginia's #1 outdoor destination. Whitewater, ziplining, water. All right, we're back, and got the second place guy that I was able to interview, Bryan Bostic. Bryan is not a camera person, but being the friendly type guy is, and we go back a little while, I believe I might be lucky enough to say that I might been the first guy to interview him on camera. But let's take a look at what Bryan had to say. Bryan is another guy that's infamous in West Virginia for winning, and he had a great tournament this weekend. And anybody that can pull a 20.25-inch largemouth out of Summersville has had a great day. So let's take a look. Yeah, man, it looks real good. So I just want to, just talk to you here for a second, because I have to pick your brain. I want to know how in the hell you become such a great fisherman. So, because I've known you now for about 8 years. The first time I ever met you was on the Greenbrier River, back when we had like 90 fishermen, and you smacked my ass then, took my money, and then you took my money again day before yesterday. So I just want to know when you started fishing and why you're so good at it.
Well, I don't know, man. I started fishing a long time ago on the creek banks, and just became a passion of mine. And I don't know, man. I entered that first tournament, and I really kicked butt. But I tell you, I'm always on the water. So if you're not fishing, you're not going to catch them.
Well, that's why I wanted to call you now and talk to you for a minute. I know you don't like to do interviews, so we're not doing an interview or nothing. We're just talking. But I'm getting ready to go out. Now that we got some beautiful weather, I'm going out to Summersville Lake here in just a few minutes. And
really
see if I can catch fish, since I went to the Jody hole the other day and didn't do very well. So I guess from what I was reading on the post and stuff, there Mikey and him were talking. I was talking to Mikey Holcombe. I guess you only had one fish until an hour before the event ended.
Yeah, probably 1:30. I had a 16-incher I caught about 9 o'clock, and then I caught a red eye after that, which I probably should have took a picture of it, but I just threw it back. And then I about gave up. I went back to the dock, and I had a flatworm tied on for a drop shot, and I broke the whole end. I tie a palm or not, so I broke the whole end of it off, and I was just straight a flatworm, weightless, with a swivel above it, and caught a largemouth.
Oh, so that's how you got that big largemouth, man.
No, that was a small largemouth right at the boat dock.
Oh, okay.
And then and it was cold, and there's a guy there fishing, and I was like, well, heck with it, man. I went across the lake and then kind of headed towards the marina, and there's a big creek coming down. It looked like a real good spot. And I I was trying to crankbait, and man, right to the boat, boom, caught a 13 3/4.
Oh, so
And I
you
was
were,
like, you know,
so you fished over, you were able to get down into the marina area and fish?
no, well, I'm saying towards, like, I took a right going out towards Salmon Run to go out Salmon Run. I just took a right and then went straight across the lake.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
But yeah, and then caught that 13 3/4. Took a picture. I was like, man, I need two more fish. So next cast, boom, another 13 3/4. And I think it was like 2 o'clock.
Wow.
And I needed one more fish, man, you know, just to get a limit.
Yeah.
And I turned around. I seen a buddy coming up the lake, Amos. So I was talking to him. And I turned around and cast it behind me, man. And boom, the crankbait. And then caught that giant largemouth.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
So so like those other guys that I talked to, they had a technique that they were working a specific area. You were just trash fishing. You were just out, you didn't find a school of fish. You weren't working a specific technique. You were just, hey, there's some water flowing. You were just making it happen.
Yep, pretty much. Yeah, I went left out of Salmon Run initially, and if you go across the lake, there's another big spring that comes through. I forget what it's called. But there's a big creek comes through, and I didn't have a fish finder or anything, but Joe, he was telling me that as he went back in that creek, man, it got colder and colder. I thought it would have been warmer, but yeah, it was super cold.
That must be Hominy Creek back there. That's Hominy Creek back there.
I think it was. Yeah. So it was only like 42 degrees back there is what they said. 42, 44, whatever it was.
Wow.
And so I was like, man, this is, I got to get out of here. And like I said, I was cold and I was about ready to go to the house. And like I said, I went back to the boat dock and ended up catching that little largemouth, man. And that kind of started it.
Hey, I do when I ask some of my buddies out there, and I do like what they call an angler profile series. I mean, who do you look up to as a fisherman, Bryan? I mean, somebody might ask you that. And
I mean, I don't know, John. I mean, I enjoy Brandon Palnick. I mean, I just like his videos.
Yeah.
And he loves catching smallmouth. That's somebody I look up to. Pretty much everybody, man. Everybody fishes, man, and does a good job and likes to compete. That's pretty much who I look up to. I enjoy it all.
So when it comes to your favorite location in the world for a fun day of fishing, if you just wanted to go out, catch a lot of fish, have fun, where would you go?
I probably got 3 of them. One of them's a Greenbrier, which has been really tough on me this year.
All right.
Number 2 would probably be the New River, and the third one is probably Lake Erie.
I was going to say, do you make trips up there?
Yeah, yeah.
I got to go last year with Buddy Vance, man. I mean, wow, caught some huge smallmouth.
Yeah, and you got to have a set of scales when you go up there because
I'm gonna take some this year.
The 18 inches, man, they'll fool you. They'll be 18, 19 inches and 4.5 pounds, you know.
You gotta love that, man. Oh, heck.
Yeah.
So what?
But
Okay.
No, go ahead.
Oh man, I was gonna say. I mean, kayak angler do you look up to the most?
Kayak angler. I would have to say probably Jody Queen.
Man, I tell you
Jody
what.
Queen.
If you ask West Virginia who they look up to, 95% of everybody that's answered that question. I mean, Jody Queen is not just a great fisherman, but he's a fantastic human being, and I think that's why everybody loves him so much. So.
Yeah, I really do. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Almost as much as you, brother.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Oh, come on, man. Well, we all love you. Yeah, you got that infectious smile, brother.
Yeah, I try hard. I've been getting better about having fun fishing. There for a long time that I only wanted to fish a tournament, and I was only having fun if I was fishing a tournament. So I kind of went back and just try to start fishing for fun. You know, even though it's tough, sometimes I just got to step back and, like, you know, I got aggravated the other day in the tournament, and, you know, I just kind of had to step back and just take a few minutes and cruise across the lake. You know what I mean? And decide what I'm going to do. And like I said, I was getting ready to leave, but I'm glad I did it.
No, heck yeah. I mean, so speaking of fun fishing, I was talking to you about this event that I'm going to in a couple of weeks. Sounds like several of us from West Virginia might go. Have you considered going to Dale Hollow with us?
Yeah, I'd like to, John. I thought my little cousin's graduation party was that weekend, but it's the weekend after that. So that's one thing that was kind of making me nervous about trying to go there. I think I'm going to try to go down there, man.
We would love to see you down there. And a lot of great people that I think that not from West Virginia, but from Illinois and other locations, Tennessee, that maybe you haven't gotten the chance to meet, but you've talked to on Facebook because they know who you are based on, you know, your reputation as a hell of a smallmouth fisherman, period. A lot of good people up there that would love to get to meet Bryan Bostic, and I hope you make that trip. So.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't know if I'll be able to go down the full week, but I'll.
Even if it's 3 or 4 days, man, I think you'd have a great time. Yep. Looks like we lost your signal there, buddy. Here's gonna pop back. All right. Now you good? Hey, man, I appreciate you talking to me, and maybe next time we can do a live video and make you feel a little bit more comfortable on camera.
Okay. Yeah, I don't do good on camera, but this was nice. I'm glad you called. I think it's really good.
All right, brother. Well, I appreciate you.
Yeah. All right, John.
Soon. You don't work too hard today.
I'm gonna try not to. You going to Summersville?
I'm leaving out of here in about 2 minutes after I click hang up here.
I got you. All right, man. Well, have a good time.
All right, man. I'll see you soon.
All right. Good luck, John.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. See you, buddy.
Hey. All right. I appreciate you hanging out with me, Bryan. That was a fun interview. Enjoyed talking to you. And Moo Maw is going to happen, brother. We're going to do that. So just keep me up to date when you're going to roll. And if you give me a little bit of notice, I'll be down in Alderson meeting you for a biscuit, and then we'll roll that way. So, hey, let's do an angler profile before we bring on this weekend's champ to get his insight. And the person involved with this angler profile might look familiar to him and to WVKA members. She's been tearing it up the last couple of years, too.
My favorite fishery is Lake Erie. My favorite fishing technique is finesse fishing. For a fun day of fishing, I would like to go fishing with Lee Livesey at Lake Fork. My least favorite fishing technique would have to be power fishing. Pro angler I admire most is Jacob Wheeler, and my favorite kayak angler would have to be my handsome husband, Buddy Vance. I've only been fishing a few years, so I'm still learning. My greatest accomplishment of fishing would have to be beating Buddy Vance at Mud River.
Thank you, Brandy Vance, for being a good sport and let me throw up your angler profile. But I thought it was fitting that I would use it on this episode. Used it before, we'll use it again. Hope to add a few more anglers to the angler profile series to feature you and what you love about fishing, kayak fishing, and definitely some of the people you look up to, where you like to go, and things like that. So, we've been online now about 40 minutes. My stream seems to be running pretty solid. It's buffered a little bit where I'm on Starlink out here in the middle of God's nowhere. So thank you guys for staying with us, being patient. Make some comments. Let us know what you think of the new backgrounds, things like that. Want to go ahead and bring up Buddy's interview and let you guys hear a little bit about what he had to say for this past weekend. All right, guys, welcome to the Rusty Hook Kayak Fishing Podcast. I am able to get one of the best all-time cold water fishermen I've ever met in my life, who just again won yesterday's tournament, Summersville Lake, Buddy Vance, to come and talk about his experiences yesterday and his life experiences on what made him such a cold water good fisherman. So without further ado, let's bring him on. Buddy Vance, welcome to the show, brother.
Hi, glad to be here, John. Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, I appreciate you taking a moment out of your day, back out in the backwoods of West Virginia, coming out into the civilization to
Absolutely.
To talk to us a little bit about your win for 2023, our future trip to Lake Erie, and all things kayak fishing. Man, I don't blow smoke, and if it's cold water, you catch fish. It can be in a pool of this much water, you'll catch a 20-inch fish, or Lake Erie, you'll catch a 20-inch fish. So how do you do it, man? What is your secret in catching cold water fish?
Patience. And it's hard to believe because Brandy says I have no patience whatsoever. But when it comes to fishing, I love cold water fishing. It's just something I excel at. I prefer it over summertime fishing anytime.
Well, I mean, your track record over the last, 3-4 years, for two tournaments in a row, a couple years ago, you won Mud Lake, or with two different clubs. Then you won this in Summersville. I know you've won other events in April or May. I mean, those 2 months, man, you're hard. You're unbeatable, really.
Yeah, it seems to be my best months in the cold water. I'm hoping this year will change. I went out and bought me a 360 where I can, deep water fish a little bit better, fish offshore structure.
Right.
And hopefully at summertime bite will get a lot better.
I hear you.
That's the game plan, to fish a little bit deeper in the summer and fish structure.
So Summersville was a mess. We got delayed 24 hours. We had that high wind, but beautiful day Saturday. Much beautiful day, more day than we actually had to fish yesterday in. But those wind gusts were awful. So they moved it back to Sunday, and then we had all that rain pouring in Summersville Lake. What benefited you? What techniques did you find that had you catching fish? Because I read your synopsis, your post on Facebook. And guys, if you want to learn a little bit about how Buddy did things not from this interview, but from what he wrote, go check that out on his Facebook page. But you found fish somewhere and you kept letting them restage. I mean,
yes, I knew, this early in the year, with the cold water still, especially a smallmouth, there still won't be in schools, that winter pool type fishing. I went straight to a main lake point. That was my first my first choice or my first spot. And I'm thinking second or third cast, caught my first fish.
Wow.
Very next cast, caught another one.
Oh my.
Third cast.
And they were all keepers.
all keepers. Because I sent you a text, about 8 inches. Because Brandy had mentioned 8 inches, and I thought I missed that. But every fish, even the ones I threw back, was over 12 inches.
Yeah, I mean,
but
you
the
had
fish
almost...
I would catch 2 or 3, and then the bite would stop, and I would pull back off, let them rest, stage back up, same spot. I mean, I was on a main lake point, but this spot was very small where the fish were at, and they were just stacked in there. And I guess what, you'll fire them up once you catch that first one.
Right.
And you catch a couple, and they kind of get scattered, and I'd back off, and they group right back up and go right back in there, and every one of them came 2 to 3 at a time.
So your technique was, of course, it was a power fishing technique. I think you said something about you were throwing a crankbait. What was the type of crankbait, and what was your depth level?
I was using a D10-8 by Rapella in the Demon color, and then I lost 2 of them. So I went to a Strike King 1.5, a deep diver, which is still in that 9-10 foot range. And it was in a crawl color too.
Tell us about your setup. I mean, what do you have, like a special rod, reel, line type of combo that you use when you do that type of fishing?
Of course, yeah. Shimano DC on a St. Croix glass rod. I mean, I definitely think a glass rod is the only way to go when crankbait fishing. I ended up boating 15 of them. And I only lost just a couple. So, I mean, if you fish with a crankbait, people lose a lot of fish on them, but that glass rod keeps that fish pinned, and I think it's the only way to go. It was in a medium action. And I was using 10-pound test because I actually, wanted to get that maximum depth out of that crankbait.
Is that a Mojo glass?
Yes.
Oh, man. I donated one of those to somebody in Gunnersville.
I love them.
That hurt me so bad. But I got a couple of Fat Jackies. Jack Gillespie made me a couple to replace it, so I got those over yesterday from Jack. So
yeah. Definitely the key to it was, that crankbait had to be hitting the structure, which I was fishing. Most of it was chunk rock with some small rock, and you could feel it, as you bounce it off the bottom, and you just let off and pause, and then fish, you just feel the weight of the fish.
So what was your big, was a 16 or 17?
16 and a quarter.
Okay. I mean, you almost had an 80-inch average, so you were catching 15s and 16s all day. That's pretty
I still
sweet.
had 45 minutes. I had 45 minutes left when I boated that last one at 16 and a quarter, and lost that crankbait and had 45 minutes left, and I was out in that depth range, and I pretty much gave up. I didn't start till 8:30 at Sunday morning.
Yeah,
we drove up. We drove up and got a late start, and I was wondering, this is going to be a tough day. But I'll tell you what else was key, John, was definitely the motor guide, the anchor lock. With the wind, I could set right where I wanted to set and just make repeated casts.
No one really talked about that. How bad did y'all have wind out on the lake yesterday?
I think it was around 10 to 11 mile an hour.
Okay. Steady or gusty or?
It's pretty steady.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty steady. And like I said, just put it on anchor lock and stood and fished all day.
Yeah. Oh, hell.
It makes life a lot easier.
Hey, guys. I have some video of Buddy on some of my past episodes here when we were up at Lake Erie in May, when he was doing some of the best bed fisherman I've ever met in my life. But you'll see me zooming up on him, and he's just a wham and slapping that big old 20-inch fish in. And he's like, and then he sent me some pictures that he had. He had one of those big scopes at the time, and Buddy had that scope. Tell him how you were using that scope up there to find some of them big fish.
Yeah, I was using a flogger, which I really bought it for Erie and Summersville, and to find them deeper beds. And then it works great too. I mean, especially when the water's really clear and you can see. 15 to 20 foot down, you can see that fish on the bed. I call it the poor man live scope, but it does work.
Well, the poor man upgraded to the rich man version for this trip this May, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm really looking forward to. Hopefully, that 360 is a game changer because them deeper beds in an area is hard to see.
Yeah, that grass. Yeah.
And I mean, it's usually in that 10 to 12 foot range, and you just can't see them. And that's where the bigger fish are, and they don't get the pressure up there. And if you can get on them and figure it out, I mean, your fish will be 18, 19-inch average.
Well, I mean, you took our money last year with a 19.25 average anyway, so
yeah. Hopefully this year will be better. I mean, with the 360, when that chop gets up on the water and you can't see them no more, I'm hoping that'll be the game changer.
So, hey, tell us a little bit about the what makes you such a good cold water fisherman? Did you start learning at an early age about how to fish in the cold water?
Early age, real early. I grew up bass fishing with my dad. I swear it's patience, but I know Brandy is going to say there's no way. But, I mean, it takes patience. And to sit there on the same spot all day is hard. But, you got to have enough confidence that the fish are there. You just got to stay with them.
Well, see, I could understand the patience part, especially if you're throwing if you're dropping plastic down there. But you're power fishing, so you're constantly working. I mean,
I still think that's one of the best times. I mean, to me, it's total opposite. I mean, I want to be power fishing, and that's the perfect time of the year, early spring. These fish are, if you notice them pictures I put, they're all fat. So these fish are feeding. I mean, they're getting ready for the spawn, and they're going to feed up. So why? I mean, if you can catch them on a moving bait, I mean, you can cover more water.
Amen.
More cast, so the ratio is going to go up.
Well, I just want to say you put on a heck of an event yesterday. You showed us why you're the cold water specialist of our area. And just curious if we might see you and Brandy down at Dell Hollow trying to catch some more monster smallmouth.
That's what we was talking about that on the way back yesterday. Trying to figure it in. We're definitely going next weekend to Hartwell to fish another BSS tournament, and we're trying our best to work all this in.
Yeah, because that'll be 2 weeks after that. So, next
should be good.
Yeah, so that might, I know with her job and your job, you got vacations precious. So, but we'd love to see if you can come down there. But I'm sure somebody else from West Virginia would like to win the $200 that the Rusty Hook podcast is going to put up instead of donating it to your wallet,
I would like to go. I'm hoping that, that Hartwell tournament turns out real good. It'll be, much I can read, it'll be a sight fishing type tournament. Them fish should be spawning, so I'm really looking forward to it if I can find the right fish.
Where is Hartwell at? Is that?
South Carolina, Georgia.
Okay. So, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, let's see. Buddy Vance, kayak anglers, who do you look up to?
Kayak anglers? Jody Queen.
That's a standard answer. Jody Queen is a hell of a great guy and great kayak angler. Yeah, he is.
For sure.
For a fun day of fishing, where would you want to go? And I know the answer to that.
Lake Erie. It's phenomenal. I mean, it's just unreal what you can catch up there. But I did enjoy Gunfeel. I would like to have another shot at it. I did learn a lot down there, but I'll be going back to that.
Good. Well, I've had you on here for about 13 minutes. Any final thoughts on what you have to look forward to for the rest of the year?
Looking forward to our next term. I mean, that's going to be a cold water really in Jackson County. So I'm really looking forward to that one. I mean, awesome. They should be some 90-inch stringers caught on that tournament.
Yeah, I would think O'Brien should be on fire, and Elk Fork always produces a couple of huge fish too.
I looked at last year's pictures and I had 90 plus on that early April like that, or early May, and them fish should be about where we want them.
I hear you.
As
Hey,
long
man.
as the rain don't blow it out where we can't see.
Well, that's the thing is our weather, 15 minutes in the rain and the wind, and who knows, but we got to hope that it is in May, and luckily we'll have a couple good days or 3 or 4 days of good weather before the event so it doesn't get all blown out.
I was surprised, if the water come up so quick. I was afraid the fish wouldn't move with it. And
Yeah.
that part worried me more than anything. It wasn't the cold front. It's just how the water was racing so fast.
That was my thought too. It came up almost 20 feet in 24 hours. And then during the day, guys were talking about how they would paddle by one rock and then they'd come back by and the rock was submerged. So I guess it rose 8 to 10 feet while we were out there in 8 hours.
Yeah, I sat in the same spot. I got to watch it as it rose,
Wow.
It was pretty neat. I mean, it was definitely coming up quick.
Well, I realized that my tactical error when I went down the Jody hole on the Gauley River and the little parking area down there underneath the Beach Glen Bridge was completely submerged. I was parking in that much water all the way up against the bank, and I'm like, oh, and it was muddy. So I'm like, well, I'm here. I got to fish. I'm going to fish. And didn't get a bite, but it's like someone said, did you not look at the Belva gauge? And I'm like, I didn't even think about it. I thought, hey, they're holding back water to the lake. That's all that water from the Gauley River that's being held back. But still, it was flooded. I can only imagine how much water we got from that rain.
We got quite a bit, and
yeah.
Which I enjoyed the wind though. It was perfect for me. I like the wind.
Yeah.
It can be aggravating, but if you're going to throw a moving bait, it does help it. Get a little chop on the water, the fish seem to feed better, and like I said, the anchor lock's the key.
I hear you.
Same way when you go to Erie too. That was game changing.
We did have a little wind last year on a couple of days while we were up there. It was pretty nice.
The fish are easier to catch up there. I promise you. When it's calm and glass, it gets very difficult because the water's so clear. It gets challenging.
Well, I tell you, man, I'm looking forward to that trip. I can't wait to when we get our boss man to get us the dates and times so we can make our plans, baby.
Oh, we'll get up there and wear them out again.
I can't wait. Hey, Buddy Vance, thank you, man. You're the total package.
Hey, thank you, Don. All
right. Thank you. All right, guys, that was the Buddy Vance, the total package. Stand by. We'll come back here again with some angler profiles, and see you in a minute. Feel free kayaks. Paddle, pedal, or power. There's something for everyone. Do Bro Fishing. Manufactured and designed marine products, American-made plastics, and fishing gear. Westbrook Supply Company, Atlanta's best kayak company for all your paddling and fishing needs. Yak Gadget, American-made kayak fishing accessories and gear. Ace Adventure Resort, West Virginia's #1 outdoor destination. Whitewater, ziplining, water. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed those interviews with those three fine men, outstanding kayak anglers. Really enjoyed chatting with them. Always enjoy hanging out with those guys on a monthly basis all over the state, catching up and doing what we love, and that's kayak fishing. Anyway, I figured we'll get ready to start shutting this one down. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Look for the next episode next Tuesday. If there's anything that you guys want to see or want to talk about, or if you'd like to join the Rusty Hook, just drop me a message and we'll get you on. And we'll talk all things that we love about. That's this right here. That's what we just did earlier. It's all about kayak fishing. Y'all have a great day. Seemed like the stream did pretty good. Had a little bit of buffering here and there, but we're caught up and we're right on time. So See you next week.